Righto, boys. Welcome to Mr. Palmer's second instalment of Screencast, or the Flip Classroom. This one's on calculating interest. There's two types or methods of calculating interest. One is the simple interest method, which is basically the flat rate method. That's what we'll be looking at first. The second one is called the reducing balance method, and we'll be looking at that in a little while. So the simple interest basically calculates the interest charge on the original amount borrowed, regardless of how much of the principal has been repaid. Okay, so that bit's important, regardless of how much principal has been paid. So if we have a look at this example here, Hawksburn Fencing has agreed to borrow $12,000 from Yarra Bank with interest charged at 6% per annum. The loan will be paid over 5 years. So this is what we need to be looking at here. Total interest charge is really simple calculation. You've got the principal, or the amount borrowed, which in this case is 12 grand. So that's the principal. The interest rate is 6% per annum, and then the time is 5 years. So if we go down here, as we can see there, $12,000 times 6% times the 5 years gives you $3,600. So the total interest charged on the loan over the 3 years is going to be over the 5 years, sorry, is going to be $3,600. So the total amount repayable, obviously because we've got to pay the principal and the interest, is the principal, 12 grand, plus the interest that we just calculated, 3,600. So the total repayable is $15,600. So once we've worked out the total repayable, we can work out the installment. So we obviously, if we want to do it monthly, we just basically do it 12 months per year, obviously over 5 years. Just divide that total amount repayable across the 5 years, and works out to be $260 a month. Now, should the loan be taken out over a longer period of time, obviously the interest charge is going to increase, isn't it? Because we owe the principal for a longer period of time. So this example basically shows that that over 10 years, although we're paying less per month, paying $160 instead of $260, the amount that we're paying in terms of interest is actually greater, because because we have that obligation for longer. Okay, so we're moving on to the reducing balance section or method of calculating interest. So whereas simple interest calculates the interest as a percentage of the original amount, regardless of any payments that have been made, the reducing balance calculates interest on the actual balance owing at that particular date. Okay, so as you make repayments, the principal is going to go down, thus ensuring that the interest that you pay will go down. So let's have a look at this example. Hawksburn Fencing has agreed to borrow $12,000 from Yarra Bank. Interest is charged 6%, reducing yearly. Okay, so we're reducing yearly. The loan will be repaid over 5 years. So because it's reducing yearly, means the interest will be calculated on the principal remaining at the end of each year. Okay, so this means that 5 calculations of interest would be required. So we'll have a look at it down here. So it will be necessary to calculate the balance owing at the end of every year. So this assumption means that the borrower makes, or we assume that the borrower makes equal repayments off the principal as well as paying the interest for that year. So if we're assuming that they take equal installments, this is how we work out the installment plan, the amount that we're paying off per installment. So the principal against divided by the total number of installments. Obviously 5 years we're paying monthly, so it works out to be $200 per month. Now we can notice that this $200 per month is actually substantial, or a little bit smaller than the $260 per month that we calculated in figure 4.3. Now the reason for that is because this figure here doesn't actually account for any interest. That's just paying the principal off. So in 12 months, the borrower will pay 12 payments, or 12 repayments of $200 each, meaning the balance owing will actually reduce by $2,400 each year. How do we deal with that? Well, what we do is we take away $2,400 each year and do the straight line, or the flat rate calculation for each particular year. And if we do that using 12,000 as the principal times the interest times the term, which in this case is 1 year, because we've got 1 year of term of this of 12,000 there. We've got 1 year at this, next year at this, next year at this, and then in the final year we only actually hold $2,400, or we only owe $2,400. So notice the amount of interest we're paying is reducing as the balance here is reducing. So as we reduce the amount we owe, the interest is actually reducing to coincide with that. So all we need to note here is that the frequency at which the loan is reducing determines the number of interest calculations and essentially the amount of interest that we're going to have to pay, and it's not the number of repayments. So it's the frequency at which the loan is reducing. So obviously, more often than not, the interest is calculated on the lower principal, the less the overall interest will be. So as the principal reduces, obviously the amount of interest that we're paying on that principal is reduced. So if we have a look here at the calculation of the installments, we calculate exactly the same way the installments. We've got the total amount that we're total amount of interest plus the principal divided by the 5-year term gives us $236. Now note that that installment is just slightly less than the flat line. And then this table here gives us a really good indication of how here we pay exactly the same amount of interest every year, and here it's reducing as the amount of principal that we owe is reducing. So what I'll get you guys to do now is we will do review questions 4.4 and we will see you tomorrow afternoon. Take care.